What's your answer going to be? You got a grandparent, you're assigned to this kid and this, and what if they ask you that question? What are you going to say? I think that's a good place to start. James says, ask them what they believe. First order. It's a good place to start. You're going to have to start the conversation somewhere. They've already started it. And their question is, what do I have to do? What do you believe? Well, then, I should have got somebody to play the teenager in here. Okay. Y'all are forcing me to go to question number 2. Yeah.
See if they understand that's those steps. I guarantee you that the part we get baptized is the hardest step for them to do. And we keep hearing about how some of the kids are supposed to be baptized. It's holding back. What's holding back? That's the hardest step right there. The last step. Oh, they can tell you they believe, but they don't know why they believe. So you have to explore that. You have to take each step to where they understand what it means and how important it is to get to that last step. Now, in my case, I couldn't wait to get baptized when I got to that last step. Because I guess I was mature enough to understand the first 4 steps.
I remember the first time I ever preached a sermon was on the 5 steps. Oh boy, did I had it all down. And I even practiced that before it was time to do that. And I thought it was the greatest sermon ever. And when we got up to do the invitation song, I just knew the whole congregation was going to come down the front, and nobody came. And I was disappointed, disillusioned. I was about, 18 or 19, something like that. But anytime that you work real hard on that sermon, you ought to get a response. Isn't that right, Mark? Amen. Yeah, thank you. Okay. What if they ask the question, would the church where you attend, which would be here, will the church accept me? You know, a lot of people get hung up on that. People want to be accepted, but they're not sure that you'll accept it. And there's lots of reasons for that. What's your answer? What? Here they would be, Judy said. Yes. Right. Anybody else?
In answer to that, I don't know how to answer, but I think one of the first things I might wonder about is there anything that you think that would keep you from being accepted by the church?
Okay, Mark's comment is return the question with, is there anything that might keep you from being accepted?
You know, the reason
Good question. Yep.
somebody that asks that question might be concerned because of something in their past that people might be aware of, and they just don't know how people will feel about that.
Yeah, I had you're having a conversation and you said, back to the 5 points, you get to confess. Sometimes that can be misconstrued, and back to you, Mark. The question they might ask is, do you mean I have to tell all my sins in front of everybody? Because a lot of people, I've seen this my whole life. Oh, I ain't going down there and do that. Everybody knows I'm a rat, but I'm not going down there at the front and tell them how big a rat. No, you don't have to tell them how. You're confessing your faith in Jesus Christ. That's what you're confessing, not. He knows you got sin in your life. So, yeah, I got it. Another question might be, I don't know how my parents are going to deal with this. You know, not every family is 100% intact, and not every family worships God. Some may do it a little, some may do it on Easter or Christmas or whatever, but some will take a great offense at their children joining some church somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So how do you answer that question? I'm not giving you any answers because I don't have any. I'm just asking the questions.
Tough question.
It is a tough question.
It's a really hard question and something that they grapple with and something I've dealt with other people.
Sure.
There's not a real good answer to that question, I don't think, other than, just, we might just need to get together and try to discuss with your parents. Why you're thinking the way you think.
Yeah, and then, Christ gives an answer himself. He says, you got to love me more than mother, father, daughter-in-law or whatever. So yeah, you can give a scriptural answer to that, but they may not understand your scriptural answer. You may have to, like you say, you may have to go into it from another angle. Okay, another question could be, will I be considered disrespectful? They would be talking about their parents. If I join a church that's different from what I was raised in. Now that's going to come up. What's your answer?
I think they're hung up on what others think and not what they think. The relationship with Jesus is not a relationship that's triangular between they, the
Right, but you've got to guide that person in the right direction. It's not something that just click, 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 and there you go, you know.
You know, Jesus talks about it in Matthew where he said, I didn't come. I came to disrupt, you know, a man against his father, a woman against her mother, you know. That's what Jesus does. And, you know, it just depends on how strong their faith is. And, you know, let's say this person says that when he's 18, when he's 30, he's still going to say the same thing. When he's 40, he's going to say the same thing. I understand the pressure because you bring a Baptist person to the Church of Christ that grew up Baptist all their life. It's going to make a lot of people upset.
That is true. There was an incident similar to that in my past. We had studied with a couple of guys from Ackerley that were Baptist and been raised that way. And over time, we converted them. And we had a gospel meeting, and I just went out and invited everybody in town, whether they were Methodist or Baptist or Spanish Baptist or whatever, and we got quite a bit of attendance from the other congregations. So later that summer, the Baptist church had a revival. And of course, I got invited. The whole church got invited. But I asked these two guys, I said, and y'all know them. I'm not going to mention their names, but y'all know them. But I said, are y'all going over to the Baptist revival? No. I mean, it was as firm as if you'd shut the door in my face. No. Well, I was kind of puzzled. I didn't know why. So, you know, I said, why? And they said, I've been lied to all my life. I ain't going over there. And that included their parents and some of the grandparents. And that was a pretty strong statement for them to make, that they wouldn't darken the door. And sometimes it still kind of bugs me about that, but it shocked me at the time. I'd never been in their shoes, basically, so I didn't know how that worked. But they were very adamant, and they did not go, I'll put it that way. Okay. Will everyone here, general question, expect me to be perfect? In the past, we've had a problem with this. You take a guy that's converted, he might be 40 years old or he might be younger, but he likes to drink a lot. He gets converted, but he hasn't really yet given up that habit. And I'm just using that. There's other habits that's probably worse than that. But it takes time. But a lot of times, as soon as we put them under the water and bring them out, we expect them to be perfect. And a lot of times, in my experience, that's when our, what's the right word? I can't think of it, but we've been so helpful and so willing to convert them, and then once we get them dunked, we're like, you're on your own, turkey, and they fall away. And that's sad. And whose fault is that? Well, it's on them, of course, but we could do a better job, I think. What if the question's like this? Can you tell me right now how to be saved? Remember, Jesus was asked this question. It wasn't exactly worded like that. But when the young man came to him and he said, what must I do to gain or inherit eternal life? And of course he told him he had an answer for him. And he couldn't help it. But if someone asked you how to be saved, what would your answer be? Call Judy. Call Judy. How to be saved was the question. Can you tell me how to be saved? Okay. Now, last question. It's kind of a statement, but it ends with a question. I've heard preachers on TV say, just say this prayer and Jesus will come into your life and you'll be saved. What do you say? Well, what will your answer be? What does the Bible say? Back to you. Do I have to be baptized? It's a biggie. It's so simple. I remember when I ran down to the front. I had lived, 17 years, I guess, or 18. And I hated hypocrites. Of course, I was one of them, but I didn't see it. When I looked in the mirror, but I knew what to do. And when I was finally convinced or converted, I didn't think that preacher was ever going to get to the end of the sermon where I could get to the front. And this was in Dallas, Texas. It was in a great big old church. And man, I can't run very fast, but I sprinted all the way to the front. And I didn't know maybe 2 or 3 people there. But it seemed like that whole congregation was trying to dry me off by their hugs when it was over. They were so warm and so accepting. And, it's the greatest day of my life. Have I fallen off the wagon since then? Oh, yeah, many times. But there's always that hand, Jesus' hand there, help you back up. There's always a good Christian that'll help you back up. So that's basically the class. There's a little more, but we're out of time. But I just wanted you to think about what might come ahead and be thinking about your answers, what you might say when asked. I got 7:53. You're welcome to head out the door. Oh, wait, one more thing. We need a teacher for next Wednesday night. 5 volunteers. How about that?